What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Bet Legendz. It's your boy Beau here with Kyle. We have a very special guest, somebody making some noise in New York right now. We have Karina. Really happy to have you on the show. Following the page for a little bit. Love what you're doing. Welcome, Karina.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Would love to just kind of get like a little intro from you, kind of, how you started out in this, kind of where you're from, kind of bringing you up to now.
Well, it's kind of a random story. We can thank the pandemic for it. I'm originally from Oregon. Go Blazers. Let's see. I got into sports betting over the pandemic. Kind of a long story, but the Blazers were in the bubble that year. And because I had nothing to do, I was getting into basketball again because I played basketball growing up. But, after, I guess, moving out here, I just never had the time to keep up with the hobby. But the pandemic blessed us all with all this free time. So I started getting back into it. And I'm a tarot card reader. So what I was doing for fun is I was doing my tarot cards and I was saying like, oh, it looks like, the Blazers are going to beat the Lakers, blah, 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 just like these really random readings on the games. And I was surprisingly accurate. And I just had so much fun doing it that even when the Blazers got bumped out, like I kept doing it for all the other games. And that's when gamblers started to approach me. They were like, hey, Karina, who you got tonight? And I was like, listen, I'm just doing this for fun. I don't even know what the hell you mean who I got tonight. And because it was such a quick turnaround time between the bubble and then the next start of the season, I kind of kept going with the hobby. I learned how to I guess you could say handicap a game, but that's not really what I was doing. I was really just doing it for fun. And then New York legalized sports betting. I created a FanDuel account. And since I had already been kind of like learning how to sports bet, I was kind of like good at it, I guess you could say, but I still lose all the time.
Do you still do that, the tarot cards?
Well, the thing is now like, I feel like it was a good introduction into basketball, having been out of the world for a long time, because I was like able to be like, oh, like there's drama happening in this franchise and oh, this player and this player have beef, but now it's like when I do the tarot cards, I kind of sometimes can see into their personal lives a little too much. And I'm like, I don't know what this has to do with like the game of basketball, but like, congratulations on your kid. Or like Tristan Thompson stays cheating and I don't really need to know that. Like, that's not really any of my business. But so I don't really like to do it so much anymore, but like sometimes I'll do it just for like old time's sake.
Oh, that's one of the first times I've heard that. And I was thinking as you're saying that, like, when the Suns play a series, we're going to need you to look into Devin Booker.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so we wanted to have you on. Like we said, you were one of the first girls to come on here. The first girl that come on here. We know you're probably kind of in this interesting position as a woman in this industry. You're saying you have a lot of guys DMing you all the time. We have a lot of guys DMing us, and
I'm sure it's the same people DMing you the same parlays, asking you the same question. What do you think of this parlay? What do you think of this parlay? Like, it's not crazy. I don't get anything super disrespectful from guys. I think maybe guys assume that I do, but it's really like all gamblers, all gambling content all the time. I don't really get anything crazy in my DMs.
Does everyone take you pretty seriously for the most part? Is you don't get anything like any weirdos or anything like that? We get weirdos ourselves sometimes, which I'm surprised you wouldn't, but
well, you guys know how the community is, right? Like everyone has their sports betting page. So they're probably more active on their sports betting page than their personal page, but there is nothing personal on their sports betting page. So there's a real person behind that page, but you don't know who that person is. You don't know what they look like. You don't even know their name, right? So it's a little bit of both, right? Because you have all these like accounts messaging you and like telling you intel, could be good intel, could be bad intel. It's kind of hard to gauge because no one, or I should say not a lot of people like to show their face.
No, absolutely. And that's something that we've harped on. Like when we started our page, we put our faces next to all of our picks. So then, there was a little more credibility around it.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's something everyone we've really worked with and had on the show is somebody who shows face. There's somebody behind the account, which gives a little more, legitimacy in our opinion, especially for the people that are selling picks. You don't know who you're buying picks from and all you see is results. Chances are it's a good chance it's a scam.
Huge scam. And that's something that I had to go through learning for myself, right? Because so like the tarot card thing, like that was really fun, but it didn't necessarily help me handicap a spread. You know what I'm saying? Like the spread was something that I had to learn in blood because I that's where all the value is. Like the tarot cards may be able to tell you like, oh yeah, this is the better team, but you can look at the line and see who the better team is. You know what I mean? So it was all about the spread. And I was like, how can I actually make money in this hobby? You have to know how to handicap a spread. So I started, falling for the handicappers who reach out to you being like, we won 20K in profit last week. We're on a full sweep, whatever, blah, 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 like all these buzzwords, and you fall for it. I totally fell for it so many times. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to make 20K in a week. Like, that sounds like fun, all cap. And a lot of times the reason why those people don't want to show their face is because they know they're all cap. And they know that if they were to actually show their face, people would be coming for them. And like, there's a lot of toxicity in this community. So I 1000% believe why people wouldn't want to show their face if they're selling picks that are trash. Or if they're selling picks that are like, we swept the board, but your picks are minus 800, Like Brasco talks about that a lot. He's like, these people are crazy selling picks that are minus 700, minus 600. Like you're not a handicapper, you're just a scammer.
100%. And shout out to Brasco.
Yeah, Brasco is great.
Yeah, Brasco is a great guy. Local New York City guy. Met Brasco once. Exactly how he is online. Super nice guy, but he makes great points. It's not about the record. It's because you, like you said, you could have minus 800s. Teams that by all means win every time. 90% of the time they're going to win the game. You're not giving anyone a lock. You're giving somebody something they have to put a ton of money into profit.
Yeah, exactly.
And do you find that we talked about like people sending you messages? Are you getting people, maybe you put out a parlay. I see you putting out like some same game parlays. People ever ride that, then get pissed if it doesn't hit?
Not really, not anything crazy. Long answer, short answer, no. I don't really get anyone crazy getting mad that the pick didn't hit, because ultimately I'm super vocal about like, hey, tail at your discretion. Like I'm a stranger on the internet and I'm giving you, like when I go live and I'm creating these parlays with Chef or Brasco or whoever, like we talk about it ad nauseum, what we're doing. And the chat is super active too. So like everyone is giving input. So it's like, if you didn't hit on that parlay, I didn't hit either. You know what I'm saying? Like I lost money too. And you were in there participating and like you liked what you saw and you decided to tail. So it really is at your own discretion. And when our parlays don't cash, it's always like by the hook or miss by 1 point, So it's like, you can't get that mad at it because it's at the end of the day, it's supposed to be fun, And with other sports betting, like there's so many sports betting content creators out there that are like gambling in different games all day, every day, live betting, So it's kind of like, this is just our one little thing that we like to do. Give the people a little like lottery card, and sometimes it hits, sometimes it misses. But at the end of the day, it's about the process. And I think that's why people are fucking with the lives, because they're having fun being a part of the process, as opposed to like us being like, this is a lock. If you want to join my Telegram, like pay me or whatever, like that's not what we're doing. It's a little different.
How'd you like get into this at first? Did you just realize you were pretty good at it and you just made a page and kind of went for it? And is that kind of how Brasco and all these other people started reaching out, or?
No, what happened is, well, yes and no. Like Bleacher Report, they have BR betting, right? So I would go live on Bleacher Report a few times before sports betting was legal in New York. So I had an offshore account. What I could do on that account was limited, but I still enjoyed like going on the lives and giving out my pick. But it was the format of those lives was a lot different. So then I don't really know what happened with Bleacher Report, but they stopped going live less and less. And then this niche community of sports bettors, like they all start, like they go live every single night, multiple times a day, talking for hours. Like these are podcasts, right? So because I had gone live a couple of times on Bleacher Report, there were a few people from the sports betting community who had been following me for a while. So Kenny Bets Big, he invited me onto the train show. And the first time I was on the train show, I swept the board 4-0, and everyone was like, who the fuck is this girl? Oh my God, what the fuck? You know, like I was the first girl on the train show and I swept the board. So after that, I had pretty good credibility. They let me come on the show all the time just to like talk about what I was betting. And then I started going live because I liked to talk about player props. And then people who also like player props want to like talk about it. So we kind of created this like little live where now we go live, we cook up a parlay for the people that's mostly player props based on, you know, trends that we're seeing in the NBA and handicapping games as best as we can to like make sports betting fun.
No, absolutely. And, you know, we see it all the time. It's like, you know, this is such an active community right now. People are really, really, really spending a lot of time to build their brand. And at the same time, you know, people were trying to make it a community. We talk about this all the time, how there's a lot of shady people in this world and in this community, but there really are some good people who are out there looking to make sure everyone wins. We want everyone to win. If everyone can make money, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
So we salute to the lives and people hopping on, people sharing their input. It's definitely a huge positive.
Yeah, it is. And I remember, you know, when I had my offshore account and everything, I was so nervous to bet anything because it was like, I have to wager $100 to win 90. And like, what if I lose it? You know? So I really appreciate the sharps who were giving out their plays for free because they just didn't need people's money. Does that make sense? Like they were like, just tail if you want to, because that's what I did. And that's what helped finance my bankroll in the beginning. So if it wasn't for those sharps who were sharing their intel, I don't know how I would have gotten into the hobby because I was too afraid to lose money, like my own hard working money, like gambling. Even like as much as I liked basketball, I was still like, oh, I don't want to lose, you know?
100%. And with that being said, you know, this industry has definitely a negative stigma to it. And, you know, you said earlier, this is supposed to be fun.
Yes.
What do you think that in between is where it's, you know, not such a divisive thing? Because let's be real, there are some aspects to it that are a bit negative.
Yeah, for sure. I think people being addicted to gambling is super, super toxic, right? Like when you're, you know, 75,000 in a hole, you can't crawl. Like, how do you crawl out of that? You know, you just have to keep gambling. However, this happens all the time. It's kind of part of the hobby. So you kind of have to be aware of that. That's why bankroll management is so important, and not chasing, right? Like I will take breaks from sports betting all the time. The issue is I can't really watch a game and focus on it unless I'm betting it. So it's like you have to just be okay with just betting. Like I don't care what it is. I'll bet $1 on a game that I'm like, I just want to win $2. Do you know what I mean? Just so I pay attention, but I feel like shit and I know I'm not going to win and I just need to get this like losing streak out of my system. I'll bet $1, $2, $3. And sure enough, I'll lose that $1, that $2, that $3. And I won't even feel bad because I'm like, I made my educated guess. I had a feeling it wasn't going to be right, but at the end of the day, like it's my money and I have to manage it correctly. And I didn't feel like losing $100. And I'm way less upset about losing that $5 than I would be if I was like, this is a lock and this is going to win. And ultimately, when you manage your bankroll like that, it helps you become more confident. I know that's not how serious bettors manage their bankrolls, but as someone who's learning, that's what I had to do to kind of like not lose confidence, because I don't really care about losing, like a little bit of money, but I get cranky if all of a sudden I'm like losing hundreds. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's like becoming almost more and more of, I guess, with it being legalized everywhere, and now you can just go on your phone and go on FanDuel or DraftKings. And we see these pages like pushing these crazy parlays where it's like you can bet $5 to win like 100 grand or something. It's almost like feeding into people, trying to get them in. I
Yeah.
think where a lot of people get trapped, where they're like, man, I'm going to hit one of these like first basket parlays one of these days. I'm just going to keep throwing money on them. We've had people message us and be like, I'm in so much credit card debt or debt in this, like, what's the lock for tonight? And we're just like, as much as we think we're like experts, we're not. We have losing days, we have winning days. Do you ever have people kind of just like come at you like that and say like, I need a lock for tonight, what's the lock? Or like,
Thankfully no one's ever given me a sob story about how heavy in debt they are, and like if I don't give them a lock, they're gonna not be able to feed their family. But you know what people are like. So that that's out there. That's just luckily not something that I've ever had to deal with. So kudos to the people not stressing me out.
I'm glad you don't have to, because I mean, 2 weeks ago or so, we had this guy message us saying like, hey, like down to my last 1,000, putting it all on one game because I'm so down bad. Like, give me a lock. It's like, no, like hell no, we're not giving you a lock. And it's like, don't put all that 1,000 on one bet.
That's what I'm saying. That's when I would go and be like, okay, bankroll management, because this is something that I didn't know from the start, right? So like, especially women, they'll be like, how much do I need to put in my account? And it's like, well, how much are you not gonna mind losing? They're gonna normally say like, okay, $50, $100. Whereas like men, it might be a little bit different. You guys might be willing to go up to like 1,000 because you guys are super plugged into sports. That might be sexist. I don't think it is, but like that's just how the difference in the genders, right? So bankroll management is 3 to 6% of whatever is in your account. So like realistically, if you have $1,000 in your account, you're only supposed to be putting 3 to 6% of what $1,000 is, which isn't very much. That's why they're always saying like it's a marathon, not a sprint. And not only that, but as you get better in handicapping, you're going to learn how to manage that better, and you're going to learn how to win, and you're going to learn how to lose. So you're never going to be at that desperate point because you will have managed your bankroll in a way that allows you to keep playing. So as I was saying, like with the girlfriends that I have, right? They're like, okay, so should I just put all of that 50 on one game? And I'm like, no. Let's just start out with like maybe a $5 bet or a $10 bet or this one. And then now that 50 is now at 100. It's now at 250, 300. And now you can start gambling a little bit more because you have increased your bankroll. And there's games on every single night. So you can't, not only are there games on every single night, but there's games on all day, every day.
what's kind of your like, I guess, day in the life? You wake up in the morning, do you like look at lines, do you do a little research and then decide what you're going to bet on that day? Do you know the night before? How do you kind of go about it?
So let's see. Mostly, yeah, like I'll wake up, I dream of basketball. Like it's so dumb. Like I'll dream of like parlays hitting and stuff like that. So yeah, I wake up, I'm like really excited to look at the lines, and most of the times, like lately, I'll look at the lines and like feel sick to my stomach. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to bet on any of the spreads. That's when I'll go to the player props. I like a lot of the player props. There's also a lot of different resources you can use to see what players are hitting their props at what percentage. within the last 5 games, stuff like that. And that's why I like creating kind of like thicker parlays. So because there's not a ton of money to be made in player props, then say you were to take a plus money line or a minus spread, right? But you can kind of manipulate the system to create a parlay to like make it plus money, and that's what I like to do. And then at the end of it, I'll create like one big parlay, and that's like my lotto ticket.
I love that. And are you, I know you've been talking about NBA a lot. Are there any other sports that you ever gamble on? Any other sports that you typically watch?
I'm gonna have to learn this year, but yeah, NBA is my specialty, and I'm not even an expert by any means. I'm just better at it than a lot of clueless people, I guess. But yeah, I don't know anything about baseball. I don't know anything about hockey. And anytime someone sends me a lock, they're like, this is gonna hit for sure. This team is undefeated. They never lose. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll throw it in there. It loses. So I have my own superstitions about gambling that I think you have to become an informed bettor in order to actually win. Otherwise, you're just chasing a fantasy.
I think that's one of the toughest parts is like every sport, you have to kind of handicap it differently. Like NBA is one way, NFL is another way. NHL this year has been brutal. I try to like stay away from NHL at all costs now because it just makes zero sense.
Yeah, I hate hockey.
MLB is even tough. And I think that's where people just kind of get lazy. They're just like, I don't want to do my research. I just want to message someone and tell them, like, have them just give me the answer. And it's like,
yeah, I get that a lot too, where people will be like, hey, if I give you my passcode or my password, will you just put bets in for me? And I'm like, am I a stockbroker? Like, what is this? Like people really just think it's free money, easy money. And it's like, no, you gotta put in the work. Although maybe eventually if I get good enough, I might do that. But even still, it's like, I don't want that risk. Like I can't be responsible for your bankroll. You have to be responsible for your own bankroll. I would prefer it if you did the work yourself,
Definitely got to charge a fee for that.
Oh, 1000%. But even still, it's like, what if I charge a fee and then I lose all your money?
Yeah, it's like you got to like sign a contract like real quick. Like, hey, if I lose all your money, it's all good.
All right. Peace.
Oh,
do you have any like crazy betting stories? Like anything, any crazy hits you got, or like even if you've lost good amount of money, anything at all that you'd want to share?
Not really. I think the most exciting thing that ever happened was, you guys know Kelly in Vegas?
Yep.
She was at Barstool. So she had this hot streak with her college underdogs. And I did not know how to bet college at all, right? So I was just tailing her plays for a while. And I mean, she made 11 grand off $100 bets in like 3 weeks. And then she didn't hit one for like so long. But still, I was just like, oh my God. I was like, I love sports betting. Like, this is the best thing ever. And that was really exciting, obviously. And that's why I really love the sports betting community, because it can help you. It can help you. And sports betting changed my life, right? So, I love FanDuel.
absolutely. And it's almost like giving you that like the fantasy of hitting that real big one, that one that gets posted on the page. Everyone sees your tens of thousands of dollars of a parlay that was 10 legs. I mean, I think we all dream of that. And to a degree, I think that's why a lot of us come back and why a lot of us enjoy it. Because, obviously this is money involved. It's obviously great to be right about what you said. You hit that, maybe you hit an underdog, you hit that. But obviously the payout is really what excites us the most.
Yeah. Well, actually, psychologists say that it's not the payout that is the exciting part. It's the moment right before you place the bet. That's the most exciting part. So it's that moment of anticipation before you hit send. That's the addicting part of the whole process. It's not even the payout. It's the adrenaline rush you get when you're like, let's go.
As a girl in this space, like, do you have other friends that are girls that are like kind of like seeing what you're doing, and like I know you're talking about it earlier. It's like starting to get involved and starting to see like, oh man, she's kind of like popping off on Instagram and making good money. Like, are people
Yeah,
trying to like tail along with you?
absolutely. There's so many girls that are like, they have boyfriends or they themselves have a team that they like or whatever. And just like me, are so confused about what is the spread, what's a money line, what is all this, what does all these numbers mean? And so I'll help them, I'll break it down for them. And then, yeah, if I can help you, if I can help finance your bankroll so you can keep playing, like that's what's fun, and you can keep on with the hobby because there's a little bit of money in there. So yeah, they're all obviously like they'll go into my lives and they tell me all the time, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about when I go into your lives, but I love it. Like you look like you're having so much fun. And I'm like, yeah, it is fun, but I can totally relate because when I was starting out in this whole world, I was exactly the same. I was so confused. I was like, what the fuck does plus money, minus 180, -7, spread, money line? What is this mumbo jumbo? Like, it really is a foreign language that you kind of have to break it down to people. Like, I remember I had a mentor, right? And I was like, talk to me like I'm stupid because I am. And they were like, okay, right? Because I'm like, I don't know anything about this. So like, I'm not trying to compete with you because I think that can be the problem sometimes is people want to be like, I know more about sports than you do and blah, blah, blah. Like they're competitive with each other. And the reality is like, I don't know everything. So I'm never going to be tight if someone corrects me or if someone, helps me out because ultimately like I want to win money. And I'm not against any other people. I'm against the sports books. Like I'm trying to win. So I really appreciate it when people broke it down for me in a way that I could understand because then I was like, oh, it's just a little bit of simple math. Like it's not that deep. And it actually makes a lot of sense now and I feel more confident. But even still, you hate to lose. You're never not gonna hate losing.
You'll have bad days, bad weeks, bad months. I mean, it's just kind of part of the ride. And if you're not really willing to, go on that roller coaster, this is going to be a tough thing for you.
Still not your thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like you said, you got to be a sponge. Like Kyle and I are constantly picking things up from other people, whether it's like, this sport, this is the way you want to bet it. We were talking to Chef the other night. He was talking about him in German soccer. And he's like, always take the overs. They're always high scoring games. Just go for the goals. So it's like, yeah, that's a good point because a lot of those lines are pretty juiced. So, there's always room to learn something more. There's so many people out there that are knowledgeable and willing to share their information with you.
Yes, definitely. I appreciate that about the entire community. Chef especially, he put me onto Chinese basketball. So, it's a global market. And anytime you can learn a new, I don't know, I guess language in the handicapping world, whatever sports it may be, it's exciting because you feel like you're learning. You just have to be willing to kind of like learn in blood, because you're going to lose. I've been watching and playing basketball my whole life and I lose all the time. I just don't care because it doesn't bother me. Losing is a part of winning. And I always, think this. I'm like, think about LeBron James. People debate, is he the GOAT? Is he not the GOAT? Is he the best of all time? Whatever. This man loses all the time, but he doesn't care. Like he keeps going. So you have to think about it that way too. Like these NBA players, if they can lose, so can you. Like you're not even on the court, so you're fine.
I think that's where just a lot of people get so not confident in themselves. They lose a bet or lose a game, and it's like, man, are you just going to keep? Am I going to keep losing? Are you going to keep losing? And it's like, well, manage your bankroll, stay consistent, and stay a part of it. And it's a long-term game. It's not a short thing. I think we see a lot of people try to like make that overnight money, where they're like, what's the lock? I want to make like $500 tonight. It's like, play the long game with us, and you'll see that eventually. But
yeah, definitely. It's funner that way anyway, because then you don't have to quit because you won't run out of money.
Yeah, definitely have to keep the bankroll stocked up and like you said, those 3% to 6% of your bankroll. If you're doing that correctly and you're staying consistent with that, there is proof in that pudding that eventually you will profit if you stay consistent to your system. It's really when you chase those, I always say don't chase the live bets. There's very few times where it's successful for you. It happens, everyone's hit it, and that's why we keep going back. But it's like typically it means I'm down on the night. I lost the bets I put out, and now I'm looking at the 10 o'clock game, and I'm hoping that LeBron James is gonna have this monster night and take me back. But
yeah, I think if you know what you're doing, you can live bet and come out alive. I'm not really totally there yet, but I do like to live bet. If I see a trend, I'm confident in it, then I'll be like, why not? If I have the bankroll for it, like, why not? Why not have a little fun? But yeah, I'm not a chaser, which is very, very good because I don't have an addictive personality, thank God. So I know when to go to bed. Let's just put it that way.
That's good. I was going to ask you that just because we mentioned the Chinese basketball thing with Chef, and I know it's like sometimes I'm up at like 3 a.m. like, why am I betting Chinese basketball? Like, what am I doing with my life? But yeah. You never run into that at all. Like,
we bet Chinese basketball one night and I fell asleep because I couldn't stay up. But I was like, this is definitely going to cash, and I woke up and the bet had cashed. So it was all fun.
Absolutely, Karina. We really appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure having you. First female on the show. Definitely a huge honor. And, we're really excited to keep Bet Legendz going. We've had a lot of great people on here. So really excited to add you to that group.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been fun.
If you could read a tarot card about Damian Lillard coming to the Knicks, that would be amazing.
Listen, with Damian Lillard, there's so much about him that I know that that I should not have known. So it's possible, but I just don't want to do it because I don't want to hurt my own feelings,
the drama.
You know the drama. I'm like, congratulations on the twins.
Oh man. But you want to give any plugs, social media stuff?
Oh yeah, follow me on Instagram at Karina Michelli. I go live almost every day, tap in, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. Talk about sports betting, player props, everything.
Yeah, we're always joining in on those too. See you and Brasco, Chef, Kenny. It's always a good time. I almost went along with your same game parlay today. I think I was a few minutes late to getting it in, but
smart because it didn't cash. So
awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on. It's been fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, Karina.